My father didn't simply forget a birthday celebration or skip a school event. He abandoned my wedding day. The single occasion I pleaded with him to attend. I can still picture myself positioned at the aisle's entrance, bouquet shaking in my hands, fixated on the vacant seat he should have filled. No message, no justification, simply emptiness. I convinced myself I had finished requiring his validation. But circumstances transformed dramatically the day my hospitality empire reached a $580 million assessment and major business networks broadcast my identity across their platforms. Abruptly, my device illuminated with the notification I once would have wept to receive. Family dinner at 7 p.m. Important discussion. The ironic part? He couldn't attend my wedding, yet I attended that meal carrying something he never anticipated. Most people imagine fractured families are noisy, yelling, banging doors, disorder. Mine existed in quietness, painfully quiet. My father, Richard Collins, never required vocal outbursts. His non-attendance created sufficient disruption alone. He navigated our Seattle residence like an approaching storm, wearing perfectly tailored business attire, dark, frigid, unreadable. My mother, Evelyn, drifted behind him like an apparition adorned in pearls. "Honey, your father's experiencing tremendous pressure," she'd murmur each time he skipped another performance. "Be understanding." My older brother, Ethan, appeared radiant in comparison, Dad's favored son. Athletic champion, flawless smile, impeccable handshake. The son my father enthusiastically presented to his business associates while I remained behind with my journals and silent aspirations. Once at age 12, I summoned courage to question Dad about his perpetual absence. He never lifted his gaze from his computer. "Because Hannah, I'm constructing a future for this family. You should be grateful." Grateful for invisibility. I discovered early that affection in my household arrived with prerequisites. And I consistently failed to satisfy them. People often declare, "Your wedding represents life's happiest moment." Mine commenced that way until it transformed. 10 minutes preceding the ceremony, my screen brightened. "Dad, can't make it. Important meeting." No remorse, no clarification, just another businesslike notification. When the entrance opened, I proceeded down the aisle unaccompanied. Daniel, my husband, grasped my hands upon my arrival at the altar. "Hannah," he whispered. "You don't need to fake being fine." Following the celebration, I positioned myself beside Daniel on the hotel balcony viewing the cityscape. "He could have attempted," I whispered. In that instant, something within me transformed. I finally comprehended. If my father couldn't attend my wedding, he'd never attend anything that didn't advantage him. Following the wedding, something solidified within me. Not resentment, but determination. I plunged completely into the sole endeavor that ever resonated with me, hospitality. Not the deteriorating old establishment Dad praised, but contemporary, purposeful environments. My initial property proved disastrous. A declining lodge beyond Portland with mildew beneath wallpaper, but it belonged to me. The banking representative regarded me like I'd lost my mind when I signed documents. What I didn't mention was that failure wasn't acceptable. I cleaned floors past midnight, composed marketing strategies at sunrise. Some evenings, I slept behind reception because returning home resembled admitting failure. By the third year, that aged lodge maintained a reservation list every weekend. By the fifth year, I expanded to 2 additional locations. Investors contacted me. Journalists requested profiles, but my father? Not a word, not a message. It resembled constructing a tower in wilderness, tall, brilliant, and completely unobserved by the singular person I once hoped would notice. Then arrived the morning my CFO rushed into my workspace, breathless. "Hannah," she stated, "the valuation arrived. $580 million. I froze, not from astonishment, but because the initial image in my consciousness was that vacant seat at my wedding. And for the first occasion, I didn't experience the impulse to weep. I felt empowered. What I didn't realize was that kilometers away, my father had just reviewed the identical headline. The morning the assessment reached headlines, my workspace buzzed like a hive. But the instant I'll never forget proved much quieter. I was solitary in my workspace when my device vibrated again. Dad, for an instant, I couldn't inhale. He hadn't messaged me in nearly 3 years. "Dad, family dinner at 7 p.m. Important discussion." No congratulations. Not even my identity. It appeared like a directive. Daniel entered and paused when he observed my expression. I displayed him the notification. His jaw contracted. "He didn't contact you when your enterprise reached $10 million. Not at $50 million. Not even at $200 million, but $580 million. I swallowed. He wants something. But the reality is, I needed to attend. Not for him, for me. When I reached the residence, I discovered my CFO, Lena, awaiting in the driveway. She lifted a folder. "You should examine this before tonight." Inside existed pages of financial reports, credit defaults, contractor conflicts, foreclosure notifications, all connected to my father's property holdings. Your dad's empire is crumbling, Lena stated softly. Severely. I felt the foundation shift beneath me. So that's why he messaged me, I whispered. Not to reconcile, just to exploit me. Lena hesitated. The creditors are distressed. They're prepared to sell the complete debt collection at a portion of its worth. A gradual, unfamiliar serenity spread through me. It wasn't fury. It was understanding. Buy it, I stated. Every single dollar he owes. By midnight, we positioned ourselves surrounded by documentation and dark coffee. Every document represented another fragment of my father's deteriorating kingdom. At 2:13 a.m., Lena glanced up with exhausted eyes. Hannah, once this finalizes, you'll possess everything your father ever constructed. Are you prepared? I inhaled gradually. I'm not pursuing this to injure him. I'm pursuing this because he anticipates me to rescue him without ever acknowledging me. By sunrise, the creditors had authorized. By late afternoon, my father's obligations were officially under my control. That evening, I approached the closet and extracted clothing I seldom wore. A fitted dark dress, a tailored overcoat. This wasn't about appearing powerful. It was about no longer diminishing. Daniel observed me secure my earrings. You're anxious, he stated gently. I'm anxious I might still care. He approached closer. Hannah, caring doesn't render you weak. Permitting him to continue injuring you does. During the drive over, my consciousness drifted back to all the occasions he dismissed me. Focus on something simpler, Hannah. You're not suited for genuine business. But holding the documents in my bag, the contracts providing me complete legal claim over his empire, I recognized something. I didn't require proving anything. I already had. When I arrived at the country club, my device vibrated again. A message from Mom. Please be compassionate to your father tonight. He's under stress. Not tonight. I secured the vehicle and stood taller than I ever had. Because tonight, I wasn't the girl he disregarded. I wasn't the bride he abandoned. I was the woman who possessed the future he was about to plead for. The country club's private dining area was illuminated with comfortable amber lighting. I pushed the entrance open and 4 faces snapped toward me. Dad. Mom. Ethan. Uncle Mark. Dad leaned back in his seat like a CEO awaiting to discipline an employee. Hannah, he stated. You're late. I closed the entrance behind me. No. I arrived precisely when I intended to. Sit, he commanded. We have matters to discuss. I didn't move. I know why I'm here. Ethan scoffed. Dad's business is in trouble, big trouble. And you're doing exceptionally well. Dad finished for him. Your company's valuation proves you have the capacity to help your family. Help your family. Not, I'm proud of you. Just expectation. Entitlement. I stepped closer to the table. So this dinner is about finances. Dad's expression darkened. With your support, we can stabilize the properties. You mean the properties you haven't compensated contractors on for months? I questioned. The loans you defaulted on? How do you know about that? Dad hissed. I placed my bag on an empty seat and extracted the thick folder. Because, I stated, sliding it across the table, I now possess every dollar of your debt. Dad blinked. What? Ethan grabbed the folder, flipped it open, and his face drained of pigment. Dad, this is authentic. She purchased everything. Mom clutched her chest. Oh my God, Hannah, why would you pursue that? Dad slammed his palms on the table. How dare you interfere in my business? I remained steady. You summoned me here for assistance. This is assistance. This is control, Dad roared. You're attempting to take what's mine. I met his fury with complete stillness. I didn't take it. You lost it. I just got there first. Ethan stood. Dad built everything we have. Everything you have, I corrected. I built mine independently. Mom was crying now. Your father is experiencing so much pressure. I snapped. He didn't even attend my wedding. Silence slammed into the space. Dad's jaw tightened. That was unfortunate timing. No, I stated sharply. Unfortunate timing is traffic. Missing your daughter's wedding is a choice. This isn't about family. It's about finances. You disregarded me for years until I became valuable. Then why? I asked quietly. Did he message me only after he observed that $580 million headline? Why not at my wedding? Why now? Dad's voice cracked with anger. You owe this family. I slammed my hand on the table so forcefully the wine glasses rattled. I owe you nothing. They all froze. I pleaded for your affection for years. I worked myself into the ground attempting to become someone you'd finally attend for. And when I succeeded independently, you didn't congratulate me. You summoned me. Dad's eyes narrowed. So what now? You want to destroy everything I built? I reached into the folder and extracted a single envelope. I'm providing you a path out. 30 days to vacate all properties. After that, my company takes full operational control. Mom sobbed. Please, Hannah, don't pursue this. Dad stared at me with the stunned realization that he no longer held power over me. You're no daughter of mine, he whispered, finally. The truth spoken aloud. I straightened my posture, lifted my chin. No. And you ensured that years ago. Then I picked up my purse, turned my back on all of them, and walked toward the entrance. Behind me, seats scraped. Someone shouted my identity. My mother wailed, but nothing touched me. For the first occasion in my life, I wasn't leaving wishing they'd follow me. I was leaving knowing they couldn't stop me. The night atmosphere hit me like a wave the instant I stepped outside the country club. Cool, open, free. Daniel was awaiting in the vehicle. When he observed my expression, he didn't ask what happened. He just took my hand as I slid into the passenger seat. You okay? He asked softly. I stared out the window. I thought it would hurt more. Did it? I shook my head. It felt like walking out of a prison I didn't realize I'd been serving a life sentence in. The next morning, sunlight flooded my kitchen. The folder containing every document from last night sat on the counter. Now, it resembled freedom bound in paper. Lena contacted at 9 a.m. The transition is complete. You're officially in control of all assets. I closed my eyes, letting that reality sink in. Thank you, I whispered. She hesitated. Are you doing okay? I surprised both of us by smiling. I think I've never been better. The next weeks were a blur of movement, but different from before, lighter, steadier. I toured each of Dad's failing properties with my team. Where he observed crumbling walls, I observed possibility. We can transform this into a wellness retreat, I told the designers. Make it calm, healing, intentional. It felt symbolic, transforming the ruins of my father's empire into places built on peace. Not PowerPoint. One afternoon, I caught sight of my reflection in the glass entrance, black blazer. Hair pulled back, eyes steady, without fear or doubt. A woman who outgrew the smallness she was raised in. My family didn't contact me, not once. But the silence didn't sting this time. Ethan posted vague quotes on social media about betrayal. Mom left voicemails crying but never apologizing. Dad? Nothing. And yet, for the first occasion, their reactions didn't pull me back into old wounds. They didn't define me, because I finally understood that walking away wasn't abandonment. It was self-rescue. It was providing myself what my father never provided me, permission to choose a life not shaped by his absence, but by my presence. People assume that achievement heals every wound. That once your identity appears on headlines beside a number like $580 million, all the emptiness disappears. But that's not how healing works. The truth is, nothing changed the day my company hit that valuation. What changed was the instant I walked out of that country club, leaving behind the voices that had shaped my childhood, the expectations that had crushed my confidence, the silence that had followed me into adulthood like a shadow. A few weeks later, I visited one of the newly renovated properties. Soft melodies played in the lobby. Sunlight filtered through comfortable oak paneling. It felt peaceful, like a place built for someone who had devoted too many years holding her breath. Daniel joined me by the window, slipping his hand into mine. Looks like a fresh start, he stated. I nodded, watching the wind sway the trees outside. It is, I whispered. Not for the business, for me, because I finally understood something I had chased my entire life without realizing. Affection that has to be earned is not affection. Family that only appears when you're useful is not family. And approval that arrives with conditions is not approval at all. I didn't require fixing my father. I didn't require winning him. I didn't require him to see me. I required seeing myself. So if you ask me what the real turning point was, it wasn't the valuation. It wasn't the debt acquisition. It wasn't even the dinner showdown. It was the instant I recognized I wasn't broken for wanting a father who could never be one. I was human, and the instant I chose myself over the people who kept choosing my usefulness, I didn't lose a family. I reclaimed my life, and that was worth more than $580 million.